Welcome everybody to the Real Men of Real Estate. My name is Dan Redig. I am owner and operator of Merlin Home Buyers here in San Diego. We are found live 1 p.m. every third Sunday on KCA Radio out of Redlands. You can also look us up and find the live stream. So today with me, I've got Rob Overstreet, who's been working in multifamily apartment investing for a number of years. I think it's a fascinating time with the changes in economy, money printing, everything else that's been going on to kind of take a look at this asset class and do a deeper dive. So Rob, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here. Excited to dive in.
Awesome. So you've been at this for a while. Would you just share with me a little bit, kind of how did you get started? What got you looking at this asset class?
Yeah, thank you. So my company is Harbor Drive Holdings, LLC. We're based in San Diego. However, we don't invest in California. All of our holdings are all outside of California. We're in Texas, we're in Indiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Ohio. And
wow, that's pretty diverse.
Yeah. So it's out of state. I travel quite a bit, Dan, as we discussed, I'll be on a plane in a couple of days. So
it sounds like an exciting trip.
Yeah. Thank you. So I got started in the business probably 8 years ago. And, like some of your listeners, or maybe none of them, I don't know. It just started with some baby steps, and I'll back up a little bit further. I've been in San Diego about 20 years.
Okay.
I went to San Diego State. I studied economics. I met my wife there. And we just never left. We've always been in Southern California. She's from Orange County. I'm from Imperial County. If anyone's heard of that place, it's a very rural, very agriculture industry driven area just east of San Diego, a couple of hours. But
that's how I know
it. Yeah. Hot summers, right? It's like 120 degrees in July. So
I love that. Actually, I'm a desert rat, so
yeah,
it works for me.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Yeah, I've been in San Diego 20 years. After college, I got involved. Actually, I should say during school, I was working in the hospitality business. So
interesting.
I worked for Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Okay,
it's a national
That's
brand.
A good one.
It's a restaurant chain. And I worked there for a lot of years. And during college, it was great. I'd work at night. It was good money, when I was, 20 years old or whatever. And
sure.
Had my days off so I could go to school and do whatever I want and everything else. And had opportunities while I was there to advance with the company, graduated college. The company went public. They were sending me on assignment to various cities to help open because they were expanding.
Wow.
They were opening.
It sounds like you kind of climbed the chain there.
Yeah. And so, and there were opportunities to advance in management, but I've always been deep in my pit of my stomach an entrepreneur at heart. And, unless
Ruth's Chris, those chains.
Yeah. And so, unless Ruth's Chris was going to be called Rob's Chris, I always wanted something else, right? Something more. Right. I wanted to be in business for myself. So
I can appreciate that a lot. I'm chasing the same.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yep. So I started looking at different opportunities. I went to a franchise expo in San Diego and just looking to network with folks in business. And I came across an opportunity in the franchise world called Minuteman Press. So,
interesting.
Yeah. And so I started doing my due diligence and, eventually made the decision that I was going to buy a franchise. And so I purchased a Minuteman Press franchise here in San Diego, and I operated that business for a lot of years. We grew sales and everything else, but that was very brick and mortar. And once again, I found myself in a position of trading time for money.
Very uncomfortable position to be in.
Yeah, and it was a great opportunity. I mean, and it's a fantastic franchise, and I really learned a lot. I had a full staff and a storefront, and we were in production of print and promo products and everything else.
That's an incredible operation, Rob.
Yeah. Wow. And so, but once again, I found myself looking for, alternative, opportunities to produce passive income streams. And so, during my tenure as a franchise owner, I started to learn and educate myself on real estate. And I started going to conferences. I started listening to podcasts. I started listening to shows just like this one, Dan, and
Fantastic.
really getting, myself educated in the space and just taking those baby steps. And so, a bunch of years ago, I was at a conference, a real estate conference, a weekend event, looking for education, looking for networking opportunities. I found what eventually became my very first mentor. And we began to look at deals together. We began to underwrite deals together. And they had some experience already. And so they'd already successfully transacted several times, previous, started putting offers on deals together, and eventually syndicated our first apartment deal. That was an 80-unit deal in Dallas, Texas. And that was in, 2015 or so. And so that was my first real taste in the space. I to this day, I've still never flipped a house. We just jumped into apartment real estate. And from that one, we closed and syndicated on a 132-unit deal in Ohio about 6 months later, Cincinnati specifically. And then about another 6 months after that, we did a 120-unit deal in South Indianapolis, a suburb called Beech Grove. And so, really at that point, Dan, I was bit by the bug. I was still working in my franchise business, but my obligations to my day job, franchise owner, and my, growing real estate business were kind of tugging at opposite ends of each other.
I can see them being definitely at odds. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It was a little bit of a conflict. And so probably about 5 or 6 years ago, with my wife, we decided that I would sell my franchise business and focus exclusively on the real estate. And so I've been full-time in the space ever since. And since then, we've closed on several more, apartment deals in the meantime.
Wow. So like so many other entrepreneurs I know who are getting into real estate, they seem to kind of be able to jump in and do things. And it really sounds like your experience with Ruth Chris's and the Minuteman Press franchise you had really set you up to understand value propositions and business operations, leadership. In our past conversations, it struck me very much that you have that stuff. What else was there to that?
Yeah. Learning lessons each step of the way. I tell people a lot that during my, 8 or 9 year tenure at Ruth's Chris, I got my PhD in hospitality and communication, right? And Dan, being in the business, this is a people business. This 100%. Is a very relationship driven. And so, when I started at Ruth's Chris as a busboy and then, worked various jobs and, eventually corporate training or whatever, years later, it was all about the experience, and it was all about the communication for the client, which were the diners that would come in to enjoy our restaurant, right? And so I tell people all the time, I got a PhD in hospitality and communication. I learned how to read people, how to communicate with people, understand their needs, and a lot of those
valuable in negotiating. My gosh, wow.
Absolutely, Dan. And especially when we're talking with investors, we have a pretty good investor group behind us that, we communicate with, we educate, and that communication skill, I mean, it's deeply ingrained, and it's part of our everyday, business today. So,
wow.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So,
I mean, with that, so you've been doing this for a while. This takes care of the family. This takes care of the needs. So what's kind of the general business structure you have at this point?
Yeah. So I have a business partner. And, by the way, each of these deals, there could be a variation of different business partners, and, each one is structured in a different way. But basically what we do today is, and I tell people this a lot, the lowest common denominator in apartment syndication and apartment investing is deal flow and investor flow, right? Okay. There's multiple layers above that where, I'm on the asset management calls. I was on a couple calls this morning with our kind of weekly check-ins, make sure the operations are good and everybody's, following the business model. But the two lowest common denominators are find a new investor and find a new deal, right? And match the two.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I spend most of my spare time on that.
yeah. Yeah. So, those are the, as far as operationally goes, again, there's layers above that, but those are the two, if you really, distill it down to its core, it's find, a quality deal, a good investment quality, investment, and provide it to our growing investor community, and offer it for them as an opportunity to add multifamily exposure to their portfolio. So,
all right, that's pretty fantastic. So with that, to get to here, was there anything that kind of made the difference?
The gift of here. Yeah.
Just getting to this point, was there any particular thing that you felt like was kind of, with all your skills and experience, you have a lot that really works towards this. Was there a gimme?
To get to here? No, there was no handouts, no gimmies. It took blood, sweat, tears, and I would say, Dan, more tears than blood and sweat.
Wow.
You got to roll with the punches in this business. We've got stories. I could probably write a book in the last 8 years about, some of the trials and tribulations, but
wow.
Yeah,
right.
no handouts.
Well, we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
We've got to cut to commercial right now, but with the Real Men of Real Estate, we are coming back to you here in a couple of minutes and talk to you.